While every shelter pet is unique, some love a good game of fetch, others would rather snuggle on the couch. However, there is one thing that they all have in common. They're all pure love. Right now, millions of pets in shelters and rescues across the country are waiting to be adopted. The cat that you just heard walk through with her bell, that's River. The one chasing her is Nemo, and they have been my constant companions for 7 years. We also have another cat downstairs named Thackeray Banks, who is also one of our adoptees. And our dog, who passed away a couple years ago, was found as well. Did you know that only 44% of dogs and 47% of cats in American homes come from animal shelters and rescue groups? We're not a typical group, but I'd like us to be the normal. If you're thinking about getting a pet this holiday season, make sure to visit theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, Maddie's Fund, and the Humane Society of the United States.
Howdy, folks. I'm fixing to tell y'all about Texas, nicknamed the Lone Star State.
I'm particularly fond of these. I pulled them out of a place on Midgard called Texas.
Don't mess with Texas?
That's the message.
I'm Walker, and I'm Texas Ranger.
Taxi, I mean, anything for Salinas.
Welcome to this week's episode of Texas Slang for Crazy. This week we're talking about the magic that is Buc-ees. Shortly after my husband and I started dating, he asked me to take a trip with him, 45 minutes to drive to a gas station. Confused? You bet I was. What could possibly be magical enough about a gas station for a date? For folks who have never been to a Buc-ees, it's easy to shrug off the concept. However, for Texans, Buc-ees is an institution. Joe Rogan referred to it as a convenience store on steroids. Buc-ees is not just a gas station convenience store combo. It has a cult following, and I've never been in a Buc-ees that wasn't brimming with business even early in the morning. Most locations feature ample parking and a massive convenience store that feels like part mini-mart, part toy store, part Hobby Lobby. The stores are known for their sparkling restrooms and hospitality. Usually there's some sort of car wash nearby. Their logo is a beaver, and Texans proudly wear t-shirts, bathing suits, boxers, really anything you can think of with that on the apparel. There are cups, coolers, bags, toys, and even little mini tents to keep the sun off your kids in their sports games. And my kid always wants one of those plush beavers that they have. They often have a wall of beef jerky, a wall of candy, entire rows of chips, an aisle of jarred goods, a barbecue station, fudge station, sandwiches, and an entire wall of soda fountains. The food and shopping are catered to the area, so if you go to the store in New Braunfels, you'll find breakfast tacos and supplies for lake life. But if you go to the one in Katy, chances are you'll find barbecue sandwiches and items to take to the coast. Brisket is a way of life in Texas. We know a good brisket, so it means a great deal that Texans purchase brisket at Buc-ees. When we arrived at the Buc-ees gas station in New Braunfels, we were greeted with a bronze statue of a giant beaver. Yes, a giant statue of a beaver. We, of course, took a picture, and I'll put it on Instagram. In 2015, Joe Rogan went on an Instagram spree discussing how great Buc-ees was and later recorded an entire podcast episode on it. I know people who will wait to stop for a restroom because they know a Buc-ees is coming up, and those restrooms are going to be way cleaner than anything that we've passed. I've used Buc-ees as a way to entertain my stepdaughter and her friend during a slumber party, and it's considered a special treat for my niece and nephew so they'll behave on a car trip. So, why a beaver? The Buc-ees empire was started by a gentleman named Beaver Applin, thus the beaver logo. In Harrisonburg, Louisiana, his grandparents sold a little bit of everything in their store. They wanted customers to show up not just because it was convenient, but because the store had items they couldn't get anywhere else. They sold syrup made from cane raised on their farm, turnip greens from their garden, and cured meats from their cattle and hogs, courtesy of their very own smokehouse. Salesmen from out of town put in orders for hams from the Applin store as they were so popular everywhere. Arch Applin III was born in 1958, but found himself raised in the family business. According to a great article in Texas Monthly, he regularly asked to run the cash register, but was told he was too young. He ended up going to Texas A&M, but 2 years after graduating, he put his degree aside and bought some land near Lake Jackson to make his own store. Arch Applin III has been called Beaver since childhood, so he commissioned a cartoon beaver as a business logo. One store became several. As of this recording, there are 36 locations posted on the Buc-ee's website, with a plan to build more stores outside of Texas in the future. Buc-ee's built a strong loyalty with